everyone. Can you guess who that is in the picture I'm showing you? That's a picture of me when I was a little girl with my grandmother. I'm about 10 years old in that picture. So a little bit older than all of you. And that was one summer when I went to visit my grandmother because she lived really far away from me when I was growing up. Here's another picture of my grandmother I found. Wow, that picture looks really old. That's a picture of my grandmother and my grandfather and my dad when he was a little boy. Look how cute he is. I know some of you have grandmothers who live with you, and some of you have grandmothers that live really far away, and some of you might have grandmothers who have already passed away. My grandmother passed away a long time ago. So today I want you to think a little bit about grandmothers. Maybe you have one with you, or maybe you've just heard stories about your grandma who's a little bit far away. Yesterday we read a story called Isla, which was about abuela, which is how we say grandmother in Spanish, and some trips that they took together in their imaginations. Today we're going to read another story about a grandmother. This one is called Dear Juno. The grandmother in this book lives pretty far away too. She lives in Korea. And so the way that she stays in touch with her grandson is she sends him letters. You can see here that he's opening a letter from his grandmother. But either he doesn't know how to read because he's still pretty young, or maybe it's just hard for him to read because the letters are written in Korean. You can see that doesn't look like the same way we write our letters in English. Anyway, he needs to wait for somebody to read the letter to him because he can't read it by himself. So while we're reading this book, I want you to think about how can the pictures help us figure out what's going on in the story? And actually, how does the boy Juno use pictures to communicate with his grandma? So this book is called Dear Juno. It's by So-Young Pak, and it's illustrated by Susan Kathleen Hartung. Juno watched as the red and white blinking lights soared across the night sky like shooting stars, and waited as they disappeared into faraway places. Juno wondered where they came from. He wondered where they were going, and he wondered if any of the planes came from a little town near Seoul, which is a city in Korea, where his grandmother lived, and where she ate persimmons every evening before bed. A persimmon is a orange fruit. It tastes delicious. It's very sweet. Juno looked at the letter that came that day. It was long and white and smudged. I'm going to switch sides so you can see that better. He saw the red and blue marks on the edges and knew the letter came from far away. His name and address were neatly printed on the front, so he knew the letter was for him. So he does know how to read a little bit. But best of all, the special stamp on the corner told Juno that the letter was from his grandmother. Through the window, Juno could see his parents. He saw bubbles growing in the sink. He saw dirty dishes waiting to be washed. He knew he would have to wait for the cleaning to be done before his parents could read the letter to him. Maybe I can read the inside too, Juno said to his dog Sam. Sam wagged his tail. Very carefully, Juno opened the envelope. Inside, he found a letter folded into a small, neat square. He unfolded the letter. Tucked inside were a picture and a dried flower. Juno looked at the letters and words he couldn't understand. He pulled out the photograph. It was a picture of his grandmother holding a cat. He pulled out the red and yellow flower. It felt light and gentle like a dried leaf. Juno smiled. Come Come on, Sam, Juno said. Let's find Mom and Dad. I'm going to see if I can show you that picture. There's Grandma with the cat, and there's a flower. What do you think she's going to write about in her letter? If there's somebody watching with you, stop and tell them. What do you think Grandma's letter is going to be about? Grandma has a new cat, Juno said as he handed the letter to his mother, and she's growing red and yellow flowers in her garden. How do you know that she has a new cat? Juno's father asked. She wouldn't send me a picture of a strange cat, said Juno. I guess not, said Juno's father. How do you know the flower is from her garden? Asked Juno's mother. She wouldn't send me a flower from someone else's garden, Juno answered. No, she wouldn't, said Juno's mother. Then Juno's mother read him the letter. Dear Juno, how are you? I have a new cat to keep me company. I named him Juno after you. He can't help me weed, but the rabbits no longer come to eat my flowers. Grandma. Just like you read it yourself, Juno's father said. I did read it, Juno said. Yes, you did, said his mother. So just like you're doing, Juno used what he saw in the picture and the dried flower to guess what the letter might be about. Now look at this picture and think about where Juno is. That one's pretty easy to guess. At school, Juno showed his class his grandmother's picture and dried flower. His teacher even pinned the letter to the board. All day long, Juno kept peeking at the flower from his grandmother's garden. He didn't have a garden that grew flowers, but he had a swinging tree. Juno looked at the letter pinned to the board. Did his grandmother like getting letters too? Yes, Juno thought. She likes getting letters just like I do. So Juno decided to write one. We're not sure if Juno knows how to write yet, and he probably doesn't know how to write in Korean. So let's think about how he's going to write a letter to his grandmother. After school, Juno ran to his backyard. He picked a leaf from the swinging tree, the biggest leaf he could find. Juno found his mother, who was sitting at her desk. He showed her the leaf. I'm going to write a letter, he told her. I'm sure it will be a very nice letter, she answered, and gave him a big yellow envelope. Yes, it will, Juno said, and then he began to draw. What do you think Juno is going to write to his grandmother about? First, he drew a picture of his mom and dad standing outside the house. Second, he drew a picture of Sam playing underneath his big swinging tree. Then, very carefully, Juno drew a picture of himself standing under an airplane in a starry nighttime sky. After he was finished, he placed everything in the envelope. Here's my letter, Juno announced proudly. You can read it if you want. Juno's father looked in the envelope. He pulled out the leaf. Only a big swinging tree could grow a leaf like this, he said. Juno's mother pulled out one of the drawings. What a fine picture, she said. It takes a good artist to say so much with a drawing. Juno's father patted Juno on the head. It's just like a real letter, he said. It is a real letter, Juno said. It certainly is, said his mother. Then they mailed the envelope and waited. Now there's no words on these pages, so we're going to have to figure out what happened in the picture. I see Grandma. I see the big leaf from the swinging tree. I see her cat and her persimmons. What do you think Grandma's going to do? You can tell me or tell somebody who's sitting with you. One day, a big envelope came. Let's go on that side. It was from Juno's grandmother. This time, Juno didn't wait at all. He opened the envelope right away. Inside, Juno found a box of colored pencils. He knew she wanted another letter. Next, he pulled out a picture of his grandmother. He noticed she was sitting with a cat and 2 kittens. He thought for a moment and laughed. Now his grandmother would have to find a new name for her cat. In Korea, Juno was a boy's name, not a girl's. Then he pulled out a small toy plane. Juno smiled. His grandmother was coming to visit. Maybe she'll bring her cat when she comes to visit, Juno said to Sam as he climbed into bed. Maybe you two will be friends. I don't think so. Soon, Juno was fast asleep. And when he dreamed that night, he dreamed about a faraway place, a village just outside Seoul, where his grandmother, whose gray hair sat on top of her head like a powdered donut, was sipping her morning tea. The cool air feels crisp against her cheek, crisp enough to crackle, he dreams, like the golden leaves which cover the persimmon garden. And there's Grandma with her kitten sitting next to her and her cup of tea and a donut on her head. The end. I hope you liked that book, dear Juno. So now I want you to think about somebody from your family that you would like to write a letter to. Maybe you'd like to write a letter to your grandmother. Maybe it's somebody in your house who you see every day, or maybe it's somebody you don't see that often who lives far away. So what I want you to try doing today is to write a letter or draw a picture, just like Juno did, to send to somebody or to show to somebody in your family. So here's the picture of Juno writing his letter to Grandma. When he writes a letter, he makes it with pictures. So there's a picture of him, a picture of his dog and his tree, a picture of his family. What would you like to draw a picture of in your letter? And then ask someone in your family to take a picture of it with their phone and send it to me. I'd love to see the letter that you make. And I have one more thing I'm going to share with you today. So if you look below our video, you'll see there's a link to a site called Tumblebooks. You might have seen this before. I don't know if Miss Cecilia might have showed it to you in the library, or maybe you learned about it in kindergarten. This is a library site. So when you go onto this site, you'll find all kinds of books that you can read on your computer or on your tablet or even maybe on a phone. And you can read the books by yourself, or you can click on them and somebody will read them to you. And they have some really good books. They have picture books, they have chapter books, they have some graphic novels. I think you'll find something that you like. So when you go onto the site, it's called Tumblebooks, and you can see the link down below the video. But you're going to have to put in 2 things when you go on there. So it's going to ask you for a password and a login. So write this information down, or if somebody's sitting with you, tell them to write it down for you. When it asks you to write the login, you're going to write SFUSD. That's the name of our schools. And then the password is the word login, which is a little silly because it's the same word that's up here. So write this information down, and then when you go on the site for Tumblebooks, you'll be able to read any books that you want on there. I think you'll have fun with that site. I want to tell you one more thing before I stop the video. So next week was supposed to be our spring break. It was supposed to be our vacation. But we're all stuck at home anyway. Nobody's going on vacation. So I'm going to keep sending you some videos next week. And I'm going to try to send you some really fun activities that you can do at home. Since we're kind of on vacation, we should do some fun stuff. So I hope you will enjoy it. I'm looking for some silly activities. I've already got some great ideas, and I think you're really going to like it. So tomorrow is Saturday. Saturday and Sunday's the weekend. I won't see you then, but I'll see you again on Monday with some fun ideas about things that we can do together during our spring break. Okay, see you later. Bye.